The alien ship appeared like a shadow against the stars, silent, sleek, and without warning. Its sleek form undulated through space, a technological marvel crafted by beings far more advanced than humanity. They had arrived, not with guns blazing or demands, but with a strange, quiet purpose: to study Earth's origins, to understand the creature that had survived so many centuries of cosmic odds. Dr. Virakesh, the lead scientist of the star, stood at the command console of the alien vessel, his eyes scanning the data scrolling across the screen. His people had been searching for the secrets of Earth for centuries, intrigued by the species that had thrived on the blue planet against such overwhelming odds. To them, humans were a curiosity, one they felt needed to be studied, understood, and catalogued for the greater knowledge of the galaxy. But as the ship entered Earth's orbit and began its descent toward the surface, Virakesh couldn't shake the strange sensation in his gut. Something wasn't right. "Doctor," his assistant Zelian said, breaking his concentration. "The readings from Earth's atmosphere, they're fluctuating. Something is happening. They're aware of us?" Virakesh's mandibles clicked in uncertainty. Humans had developed technologies far quicker than anticipated. In their search for knowledge, the star had always considered them primitive, unrefined creatures at the mercy of the cosmos. But now, he felt an unsettling presence on their radar. "Increase our stealth capabilities," he ordered sharply. "I want no sign of our presence. Prepare the temporal scanners. We must gather information before we are detected." But even as the ship faded further into the background, the first hint of trouble arrived. A crackling message came through the ship's communication systems, breaking the tense silence. It was in a language not entirely unfamiliar, yet far too complex for them to immediately comprehend. "To the invaders from beyond our skies," the message began, transmitted in perfect human tongue. "We are aware of your presence, and we know your purpose. Understand this: we will not go quietly. You may study our origins, but you will never extinguish us." Virakesh froze. For the first time, he felt the weight of humanity's resilience. He had expected to find a planet ripe for harvest, an easy subject for study, perhaps even a species to conquer. But this was different. "Are you sure the humans have discovered us?" Zelian asked, her voice tense with anxiety. "How could they possibly know?" Virakesh's gaze hardened, his antennae twitching in rapid succession. "We were wrong to underestimate them," he muttered. "Their resistance to our sensors is unlike anything we've encountered. They know more than they should." On Earth, Captain Nathan Cole sat in the remnants of a rundown military operations center. The walls, once adorned with maps and advanced digital displays, were now covered in soot, scratched metal, and the scars of a long, ongoing battle. It had been years since the alien forces first arrived, and humanity had fought back with everything they had. Cities fell, governments collapsed, and entire continents were ravaged, but humanity never gave up. Nathan's fingers traced the edges of an old, half-burnt map of the world. Despite the war, despite the overwhelming alien forces, humanity had adapted. It was their most basic instinct: survival. "Sir?" A voice broke through his reverie, snapping him to attention. Lieutenant Sarah Bennett stood in the doorway, her face streaked with dirt and fatigue. Her armor was dented, but she stood tall, unwavering. "We've intercepted a transmission. It's from the aliens. They're in orbit again." Nathan's heart skipped a beat. He had heard rumors of alien vessels returning to Earth, but he had hoped they were false. This was it, their final move, their greatest test. He wasn't about to let Earth fall without a fight. "Is it the same message as before?" he asked, his voice low and grim. "No, sir," Bennett replied, stepping closer, a flash of uncertainty in her eyes. This one feels different. It's a warning, sir. They say we are not just an anomaly. We are a threat." Nathan clenched his fists. His eyes narrowed in thought. If the aliens had come this far, there was no telling what they might do next. "We need to move quickly," he said, standing up, his voice filled with urgency. "Prepare our forces. We need to be ready for whatever they throw at us." We'll give them everything we've got. As Bennett nodded and left to organize the soldiers, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. It was as though they were being manipulated, caught in a game that they didn't understand. The aliens had come to Earth to study them, to understand their origins. But why now? Why after all these years? Had they simply seen humanity as a curiosity? Or was there something more at play, something darker, more calculated? Nathan stood up from his desk, pacing the room as he mulled over the possibilities. The aliens' arrival had been a turning point for Earth. Initially, the humans had been overwhelmed, caught off guard by the alien technologies that decimated Earth's defenses. But humanity, like a wounded animal, had fought back with an intensity the aliens had never expected. They had adapted, scavenged, and repurposed alien tech. It wasn't enough to win, yet, but it had allowed them to survive. And now, the humans would fight with every ounce of their strength. We're not just going to lay down and die, Nathan muttered to himself, his gaze hardening. If they want us gone, they'll have to wipe us out to the last man. Meanwhile, Virikesh and his assistant watched the human fleet assemble below them on Earth's surface. As the alien scientist observed the humans preparing for battle, a disturbing thought began to form in his mind. They've adapted too quickly, he said, his voice filled with disbelief. How are they doing this? They shouldn't even be capable of this kind of resistance. Celian looked up from her station. Maybe they're not as primitive as we thought. The two aliens exchanged a knowing glance. They had come to Earth expecting to catalog an ancient, weak species, ready for eradication. Instead, they had found an entirely new kind of challenge. Virikesh's hand hovered over the ship's comm system. He hesitated, wondering whether he should call for reinforcements or wait, observing humanity's every move. This wasn't just about an invasion anymore. It had become a test of willpower, a game of survival. The Zorath had underestimated them, and now they were about to learn a deadly lesson. He turned to Celian, his expression darkening. It's time. Initiate the next phase. Earth's fate was about to be sealed, and neither the aliens nor humanity could predict what would happen next. The skies above Earth were streaked with fire, the streaks of alien warships cutting through the atmosphere as they entered the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere. The alien fleet, led by the Zorath, had been looming overhead for weeks, ever present in humanity's nightmares. What had started as a strange observation mission, an attempt to study Earth's origins, had now turned into a desperate, two-sided war for survival. In the ruined heart of what used to be Earth's capital, humanity was preparing for the storm they knew was coming. The world was no longer the place it had once been. Cities were shattered, infrastructure crumbled under the weight of constant attacks, and most of humanity's military forces had been either decimated or scattered into makeshift, guerrilla groups. But through it all, the human spirit remained unbroken. Captain Nathan Cole stood at the command center of the human resistance, watching the holographic map of Earth flicker before him. The Zorath fleet was descending, and their position was growing clearer. The aliens had spent years studying humanity, analyzing their weaknesses, but they had overlooked one crucial factor: Earth's people didn't break easily. Even against impossible odds, the human instinct for survival was relentless. It's all coming down to this, Nathan muttered under his breath, his hands gripping the console in front of him. The situation had gone from a planetary defense to something much darker. There would be no more retreat, no more negotiation. The aliens had come to eradicate humanity from existence, and humanity was about to show them exactly why that was a mistake. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Bennett, approached him with urgency in her step. Sir, we've just intercepted another transmission. This time, it's direct, coming from the Zorath General. He's demanding our immediate surrender, or Earth will be destroyed. Nathan turned, his jaw tight. What's his play? Bennett frowned as she brought up the transmission. The image flickered for a moment before the hologram stabilized, showing a towering alien in military armor, his eyes glowing like molten gold. He spoke with an air of cold superiority. You are not the first species to defy the Zorath. The general's voice resonated across the room, the sheer contempt clear in his tone. But you will be the last. Surrender now, and I may spare the remnants of your species. Continue to resist, and your extinction will be swift and total. Nathan's fists clenched at his sides. The threat was as clear as it was ruthless. The Zorath had conquered countless worlds, annihilating those who had opposed them, and now it was humanity's turn. Bennett looked at him, her eyes sharp with determination. What do we do now, sir? Nathan's response was immediate, his voice low but fierce. We do what we've always done. We fight. But deep down, as the transmission ended and the alien forces drew closer, Nathan's mind raced. Humanity had always been the underdog. The aliens had counted on their overconfidence to lead them to victory. Yet Nathan knew that if humanity stood any chance of surviving, they needed to do more than just fight. They needed to turn the tide. The human resistance was fractured but determined. Earth's remaining military forces, though severely diminished, were gathered in small, strategically hidden bases across the planet. Nathan's team was preparing for the most significant battle yet. The Zorath would not just assault Earth, they would try to break humanity's will. As Nathan stepped into the makeshift briefing room, he was greeted by the faces of his closest allies. Sarah Bennett, the steadfast lieutenant who had stood by him through every trial. Major Adrian Wells, an old war strategist whose keen tactical mind had turned the tide in countless skirmishes. And Dr. Olivia Grant, a brilliant scientist whose knowledge of alien technology had been invaluable. They were a team, each one battle-worn but unyielding. All right, Nathan began, his voice steady. We've got one shot at this. The Zorath are not here to negotiate. They're here to wipe us out. But we're going to show them why they shouldn't have underestimated humanity. Dr. Grant stood up, holding a small device in her hands. I've been analyzing the alien energy fields, she said, and I've found something interesting. The Zorath ships rely heavily on a central power core, a weak point that, if targeted, could disable their entire fleet. Nathan nodded. We need to hit that weak point, but we don't have the firepower to engage them directly. Our forces are too spread out. How do we make this work? Precision, Major Wells said. We're not going to take them on head-to-head. We'll hit them where they least expect it. Guerrilla tactics. Small, tactical strikes at their power centers. We'll weaken them over time. Nathan turned to Sarah. What's the situation with our forces? We're holding our positions, but morale is low. The Zorath are pushing hard, and most of our resistance cells have been compromised. But we have enough firepower left to make a dent. Sarah paused, her gaze meeting his. We need to move fast. Once the Zorath realize what we're doing, they'll adapt quickly. Nathan exhaled, his mind working through the plan. Then we move fast. All teams, prepare for rapid deployment. We'll disrupt their energy systems, weaken their fleet, and buy us time for the final assault. The room fell silent as everyone processed the weight of the decision. This wasn't just another battle. This was humanity's last chance. There were no reinforcements coming. No backup. This was all they had. Nathan squared his shoulders, locking eyes with each of his team members. We're not going down without a fight. We're going to show the Zorath what humanity is made of. The battle began before dawn, with humanity striking from the shadows. The Zorath had underestimated the resolve of the humans, and they would soon learn that mistakes like that had consequences. As the first explosions lit up the alien positions, the humans moved like ghosts, slipping through the cracks of the enemy's defenses, attacking from the blind spots that the Zorath had ignored. But as the resistance struck hard, Nathan felt the pressure of the clock ticking. The Zorath had already made it clear that their time for mercy had passed. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would continue to exist, or if they would be wiped from the annals of history. The tension built to a boiling point as the human forces made their final strike against the Zorath fleet's central power core. Nathan, along with Sarah, Dr. Grant, and Wells, launched the attack on the enemy's energy field. It was their most dangerous mission yet, but with every step, they inched closer to their ultimate goal, showing the galaxy that humanity was not a species to be erased. The Zorath had a word for humans, extinction event. But they were wrong. Humanity was an event of its own. And it wasn't over yet. The heart of Earth's final resistance was now fully in motion. The Zorath fleet, vast and imposing, hovered above Earth like a dark cloud, its massive warships bristling with weapons and energy fields. But for the first time in the war, the balance of power had shifted. Humanity, with nothing left to lose, had struck a decisive blow. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows over the war-torn city as Nathan Cole and his team approached the heart of the Zorath's energy core. The sky was filled with the dull hum of alien ships overhead, but the fire of human resolve burned brighter. Every soldier, every rebel, every last remaining human fighter knew that this mission would be their last stand. The time to act was now, and failure wasn't an option. "We're almost there," Major Adrian Wells muttered, his voice low but steady, as he crouched beside Nathan. His keen eyes scanned the alien cityscape, watching for any signs of movement. "Once we breach the core, there's no turning back." Nathan nodded, his hand tight on his rifle, scanning their surroundings. They were deep inside enemy territory now, and every step felt like a countdown to the inevitable. The Zorath had been ruthless in their pursuit of humanity's extinction, but the humans had proven their ability to adapt and survive. This wasn't just about stopping the aliens. It was about showing them that no matter how far they pushed, Earth would always push back. "We make our stand here," Nathan said, his voice calm but with a sense of finality. "Once the core goes down, the Zorath fleet will be crippled. It's our best shot at turning the tide. I'll set the charges," Dr. Olivia Grant said, stepping forward, her mind sharp despite the chaos around them. The brilliant scientist had been crucial in deciphering the Zorath's technology, and had discovered the key to disabling their fleet. She was humanity's secret weapon, a weapon humanity was counting on. "Be quick," Nathan urged. "We don't have much time." Grant nodded, her fingers already working on the small device that would trigger the charges. As she worked, Nathan's mind raced. He could feel the weight of the decision, the knowledge that if this mission failed, humanity would be finished. But he didn't feel fear. Instead, he felt an intense clarity, a singular focus. They would not let Earth fall. The ground shook suddenly, and the low, ominous hum of Zorath warships grew louder. The Zorath knew something was amiss, and they were coming for them. "Let's move!" Nathan shouted, his voice cutting through the growing noise. "We need to buy Olivia more time." The team broke into action, sprinting through the rubble-filled streets toward the enemy's energy core. The Zorath had constructed their most vital asset in the heart of the city, an enormous structure that pulsed with an eerie, electric glow, surrounded by thick energy shields and heavy defenses. If they could disable the core, the alien ships would be left powerless, their advantage shattered. But the core was heavily guarded, and getting to it would take everything they had. The team moved fast, cutting through the city's ruined streets, avoiding alien patrols and the occasional blast of gunfire from distant Zorath soldiers. It felt like they were moving through a ghost town, the silence between explosions deafening, broken only by the rhythmic thud of boots on the cracked pavement. As they approached the core's outer defenses, Nathan's heart rate spiked. The enemy's response had been swift. Alien mechs, enormous and hulking, began to emerge from the shadows, their red eyes scanning the horizon for threats. The soldiers moved into position, taking cover behind destroyed buildings as the mech stomped forward, their heavy footsteps reverberating through the street. "We need to hold them off long enough for Olivia to set the final charge," Nathan said, his voice tense. "No mistakes." Bennett, always by Nathan's side, turned to him. "We've got your back, sir." "Always." Without another word, they all took up their positions. Nathan peeked over the edge of a concrete wall, taking aim at one of the mechs. His rifle roared to life, the powerful shot hitting the mech squarely in the chest. It staggered back, smoke rising from the impact point. But it wasn't enough. The Zorath war machines were resilient, and the first mech was soon joined by a second. "Focus fire! Take them down!" Nathan barked. The battle escalated rapidly. The air filled with gunfire, explosions, and the grating sound of metal against metal. Bennett, expertly handling her rifle, fired with precision, taking out Zora's soldiers with deadly accuracy. Wells and Grant were moving quickly, trying to get to the core's energy shield controls while Nathan and Bennett kept the mechs at bay. Grant, her hands shaking but determined, shouted over the noise. "Almost there, just need a few more seconds." Nathan's heart pounded in his chest as he fought alongside his team. The Zorath war machines were closing in, but the human soldiers fought like lions cornered. They had nothing left to lose, but everything to fight for. Humanity was at its breaking point, and yet, they had never been more dangerous. A massive explosion rocked the battlefield as the last of the mechs fell, but the Zorath were not done. The final assault was coming. Nathan could hear the heavy hum of reinforcements just beyond the horizon. "We've got to move!" Bennett yelled, panic creeping into her voice. The charge had taken longer than expected, and they were running out of time. Grant finally looked up from her work, sweat pouring down her face. "It's done! The core's destabilized." Nathan gave a sharp nod. "Get to the extraction point. Now!" The ground shook violently as the alien core exploded. The blast was deafening, and the shockwaves sent debris flying through the streets. The Zorath forces screamed in chaos as their fleet began to destabilize. The humans had done it. They had taken out the heart of the Zorath's power. As the team made their way to the extraction point, the enemy forces were in full retreat. The Zorath fleet, crippled and in disarray, began to break apart, their once feared armada rendered useless. Nathan stood on the cracked streets of Earth, watching the sky burn as the alien forces scattered. He could feel the weight of the moment. The war wasn't over, but humanity had struck a decisive blow. They had shown the universe that humanity was not a species to be wiped out. The Zorath had learned their lesson the hard way. And they would never forget the name of Earth. Humanity had won this round, but the fight was far from over. The final battle had ended, but the war was far from over. The once vast Zorath fleet, a symbol of fear and conquest, had crumbled in the wake of humanity's defiance. Its engines sputtered, its warships drifted aimlessly in the vast expanse of space, disabled and helpless. The alien forces had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt, and now, the galaxy would never forget the price of that mistake. Nathan Cole stood atop the rubble of a destroyed city, watching the dying flames of the alien war machines as they flickered out one by one. Earth had been saved, at least for now, but the damage was irreversible. The cost of the victory was heavy. The human race had lost so much, but they had gained something even more powerful: the knowledge that humanity could survive anything. The galaxy had a new respect for Earth's people, and the Zorath had learned that they could not easily crush a species that refused to be defeated. Nathan's heart still pounded in his chest, but it wasn't from fear. It was from the sheer relief of knowing that Earth still had a fighting chance. "Captain?" Sarah Bennett's voice broke through the quiet. She approached, her face tired but determined. The sweat from the battle still glistened on her brow, and the harsh lines of war were etched across her face. But there was something else: pride. Earth had fought back. "We did it, Nathan," she said, her voice soft. "We stopped them." Nathan nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the last of the alien ships burned in the sky. "Yeah, we did. But it's not over yet. We may have crippled their fleet, but they'll be back. They always are. We'll be ready," Bennett said, her voice unwavering. "This time, they'll think twice before coming for Earth." Nathan glanced at her, his mind still racing with the weight of their victory. "This war has cost us everything. And we've won, but at a price. Our cities are destroyed. Our resources are running low. We need to rebuild to recover. The Zorath may have retreated now, but we can't afford to be complacent. Not after what we've seen." Bennett's eyes softened. She placed a hand on his shoulder, a rare gesture of comfort. "You've led us through hell, Nathan. Humanity owes you everything." He shook his head, brushing off the compliment. "No. We've all done our part. Every person who fought, every person who held on, they're the reason we're still standing. It's not me. But the reality was, Nathan knew deep down that humanity's survival wasn't just about the next battle. It was about what came after. Earth would need to heal. The cities needed to be rebuilt. And most of all, they would need to rebuild trust, unity, and hope. The war with the Zorath had brought humanity to the brink of extinction, but it had also awakened something that no alien force could ever destroy: the unbreakable will of humankind. As the team stood together, watching the last of the alien ships disappear into the horizon, a voice crackled through the comms. "Captain Cole!" The voice of Dr. Olivia Grant echoed, tinged with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "You're going to want to see this." Nathan's heart skipped a beat. He was no longer certain of what to expect, but if Olivia was calling him in, it was something big. He quickly nodded to Bennett and Wells, signaling them to follow him. The three of them made their way to the command center, where the remaining human forces had gathered to assess the damage and formulate the next steps. The large screens showed Earth's battered surface, but in the lower corner, a strange anomaly flickered, a news signal. "Is this a Zorath transmission?" Nathan asked, his brow furrowed as he approached the main console. Olivia shook her head, her face pale. "No, Captain. It's coming from the Zorath homeworld, but this is something else." The screen shifted, revealing a holographic message. A figure appeared, a humanoid, but not alien. Its face was familiar, its eyes a deep, dark brown, and there was something distinctly human about it. But the figure's appearance was far too pristine, too regal, to be just an ordinary person. "This is Commander Anya, a representative of the United Earth Alliance." The figure's voice boomed, its tone authoritative and commanding. "We've been observing your world from a distance, and we've seen the strength you possess. You have proven yourselves worthy. The Zorath Collective is but one of many empires, and they've always underestimated Earth's potential. It is time for you to step into the larger galactic community." Nathan's eyes widened, his heart pounding again. A representative of the United Earth Alliance. An entire alliance of other worlds was watching them. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for, the chance to join forces with the rest of the galaxy. But there was a chilling thought that lingered. The Zorath had nearly destroyed Earth. And now, humanity had been thrust into something far bigger than it had ever imagined. "Commander Anya," Nathan said, his voice steady, his mind racing. "We've fought and survived against an empire that nearly wiped us off the map. Why should we trust you?" The figure on the screen gave a subtle, knowing smile. "Because humanity is not just a force to be reckoned with. You've shown the galaxy that you will fight until your last breath. And for that, you have earned the right to stand with us." Nathan took a deep breath, turning to Sarah, then to Wells. The weight of the future pressed down on him. The war had shattered Earth, but it had also made humanity a force that would be recognized across the stars. "We've survived, but this is only the beginning," Nathan said quietly to his team. "Now we show the universe who we really are." As the message ended and the screen went dark, a new chapter in humanity's history began. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. Earth had just entered a galaxy that was watching, waiting, and ready to test their resolve. And humanity was ready to prove that it wasn't just the last species standing. It was the species that would rise and conquer.